Ade Samuel is a force. The stylist and shoe designer has made her mark on the fashion industry through years of hard work and sheer talent. Her work is distinctive and her eye for detail is exceptional. She is the woman behind Yara Shahidi's young and cool aesthetic and the woman who allows industry OGs such as Kelly Rowland and Monica to continue reinventing themselves. Not your average stylist, Ade Samuel sat down to talk us through her journey from intern to creative director.
I've always loved fashion. I remember being 9 and literally taking composition notebooks in school and drawing stick figures. And I always remember that as the beginning phases of my love for clothing, fashion. Coming from Nigerian descent, I always tell the story of my grandmother being a tailor and always creating all our clothes. She was a tailor and created all our clothes when we were home for traditional parties for my mom. And I just fell in love with our traditional clothing, the patterns, the lace. My earliest memories when I was around 9 and just seeing clothes, seeing fashion, seeing magazines, and just always finding some type of relation or connection with it. That really was the start of my love to it.
While studying fashion, Ade interned in order to gain practical experience of the industry. It's through those internships that Ade landed the job at Teen Vogue, which launched her career.
Internships are super important. I always tell all my assistants, all my interns, it's the quintessential part of becoming a stylist or working in this industry. When you're interning, you're learning things that they don't teach you in school, that you can never even imagine and I went to school for fashion, and there was so many things that I picked up interning. My big break at Teen Vogue came from an internship. Before Teen Vogue, I was other places. I interned in fashion PR. I worked at Diane von Furstenberg. I worked at W Magazine. I worked for Rag & Bone and a bunch of other places. But then I started to realize my love for fashion was more in styling, something that I gained a big experience in working for magazines. So when I went to Teen Vogue with my internship, I had no idea that they would even look at me to hire me. It was just me working hard. I remember going in and during the holiday, everybody was like, I'm leaving. And because I'm from New York, I was like, I can stay. So being a part of that kind of culture of hardworking interns and really putting my foot in the door and really just working hard is what showed everyone my capabilities, and it's the reason why they hired me at Teen Vogue.
The practical experience she had was invaluable, and Ade found herself learning the important lessons very early on. These lessons, she says, steered her well throughout her career.
Time wasn't my biggest attribute. So working at Teen Vogue and working in magazines, there's deadlines. You have to finish the shoot at a certain time. You have to get the clothing at a certain time to execute shooting. While I was an intern, I learned how important it was to not only communicate effectively with the different editors, but be this person that developed an importance of time efficiency and management, especially when working with different people, and especially when working in a group. Working in a magazine, you're working with the editor-in-chief, you're working with editors, you're working with stylists, you're working with photographers, you're working with interns who also play a vital part. These interns play a vital part into what we do in the fashion closet and what I was working a part of. So my biggest memory and my biggest experience was really just learning how to efficiently manage my time so that I can diversify it and work with the different photographers and the different editors and the different stylists that were coming in and out of the Teen Vogue offices.
From interning to Teen Vogue, now Ade is the creative director of her own line of shoes, Ade Samuel Shoes. Ade's journey has been an illustrious one, but each step has helped her get closer to her true passion, shoe designing.
Being an intern to a shoe designer, that's such a big gap of things that I've done in between. So, when I was an intern just like anyone else. I was still in school. Thankfully, they gave me an opportunity right before I graduated. So then I became the fashion assistant. So after intern, I became the fashion assistant of Teen Vogue for over 2.5 years. While I was doing that, I was working really closely with the editors, and then I got a promotion to become the assistant accessories editor with Shiona Tarini and Sheena Smith. Shiona Tarini, who you'll see later in my story because we did the Beyonce Formation video together. But So as I was a fashion assistant, I was doing a lot of market work. So what I would do with market work is find different designers for Teen Vogue, high and low, work closely with the photographers to make sure that we had what they wanted for the specific shoots that we were shooting at the times. Then while I was at Teen Vogue, I realized that when I got the promotion to accessories editor, my love for shoes, my love for accessories, my love for jewelry was so big, and I knew that I wanted to always do clothing. I always wanted to work it with pieces. I love clothes. So with that, I said, you know what, let me go and do the hardest part of the industry, which is accessories. My mentor is Wari Weiss. He's a stylist that I was working under when I was working with Alicia Keys and Elle Varner. He was one of the beginning stylists. And then I always say my other mentors are people that I read about. So I'm really inspired by Oprah. That's my biggest mentor. Everything she does, everything she says, Tony Robbins, those are people that because the way I work is more internal, and then the external will reveal. So it's more of a spiritual thing. So when I'm connected inside, then I can, kind of exude my work creatively.
The transition from styling to shoe design may seem like a leap, but for Ade, it was her love of accessories that she discovered through styling that led her towards the expensive yet rewarding world of shoe design.
Styling was my first passion. While I was working in magazines, I realized from working with the different stylists and the different photographers how much I love this idea of creating art with clothing. So because of that, I went and I started styling with Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, Nicole Richie, and all these other amazing people. And then I realized as I was styling them, I'm looking at the shoes and I'm looking at the clothes, and I'm just like, where's our representation? Where's the representation of me? Where's a black designer that I can put on them and feel excited about? And because I saw that void missing, I then decided to go ahead and jump and create my shoes, because it's been something that was on my mind. It's been a passion of mine, and seeing that missing kind of element through styling was the reason why I went forward in that direction.
There is a notable lack of POCs in the fashion industry, and it is no secret that till this day, race remains a bone of contention, and black people have been fighting for adequate representation, be it in the modelling or the design sector. Ade Samuel is refreshingly candid about her experience as a woman of colour, and reveals that a huge part of her motivation to succeed is to prove that her colour is not a barrier.
I agreed with Kanye at that time. I was actually cheering him on, like, yes, tell the world, because it's a taboo conversation. No one in the industry wants to talk about the disparity of African Americans, and especially the representation. Now it's getting better, especially with ready to wear. We have a lot of, African designers. We have a lot of black women who's a great representation. Makio, Lisa Folaway. We have a lot of people, Lisa Folaway. We have a lot of people who are, really representing us well. However, there is a missing part of this industry where they don't support, the African and the black designers, which I don't know why. I think it's just, it's a growing pain of this society and this industry. And, we just have to keep talking about it. And I think social media is playing a big part into the awareness and the conversation about the lack of black designers and the lack of support with them. Someone like a Kanye West, who has all the resources in the world, couldn't even get an interview or wasn't respected because it's such a tight-knit industry that people, the union of designers are so small that without the approval of certain people in the industry, your designs won't be seen in the masses. So it's kind of utilizing social media now to kind of break in and talk about it and keep the conversation going and bring more awareness to what's happening. I don't push in a way where it's like, you must wear this, but I do like to open the minds of my clients. When I first started working with them, we really have a conversation about what their aesthetic is, what didn't they like from their past stylists, or what didn't they like from the past things they've done. And then from there, I really look at each of my clients different. So, when I have someone like a Yara Shahidi, who I had when she was, 16 years old, I couldn't be risky with her. I had to still be very fashion forward, but still age appropriate.
I've been working all night, now I need to hear you call my name. Where you at? On the way. How far? On the way.
Styling is a profession centered around finding the right balance. There has to be a synergy between stylist and client and a willingness to learn from each other in order to create a unique and effortless vision.
They wanted it to feel like a group, even though we are, at the time they weren't together. So it was really just two people, two creatives who worked from two different spaces, wanting to bring R&B kind of soul with hip hop, and how can we merge that?
Ade went on to work on Big Sean and Jhené Aiko's joint project, 2088.
They wanted this whole creative flow of like the future of a band, and what a future of a group would look like. So just being a part of that project was such a pivotal moment for my life. And that was honestly one of the first times that I've worked on album packaging, and I'm so happy that they allowed me to kind of explore with them.
Look, remember all the nights you used.
That was an amazing moment. I think, by that time I was already working, and Shiona Tarini and Marnie both, knows. And here's me with this big secret, working on this amazing video that I didn't even realize was going to be a huge conversation piece for Black culture. And I didn't even realize that Beyonce was coming out with a moment in history that was going to define her as, I'm Black, you guys love me, and you need to see what's going on. I'm not going to be quiet anymore. This is what's happening with our people, and you need to pay attention. And not only do you need to pay attention, you need to respect us, and you all need to get information.
Shiona Tarini, Marnie Senafonte, and of course, Ade Samuel.
It just came about by Shiona reaching out, asking me if I wanted to help pull some clothes, and help her assist styling. I obviously said yes, and from there, it just, when the video came out and it became this kind of, headline, it became headline for everyone of Beyonce is picking a side. It's like, she's picking a side, she's Black, that's the side she's on. It just was to be a part of that conversation and to be a part of that movement and to be a part of something that is going to be a moment in history for me is just fantastic. I can't even explain it more. It's just, Thankfully, I had amazing people who trusted me in my eye for styling. And the parts that me and Shiona did was all the parts where Beyonce herself was solo. So the part when she's sitting in the chair, the iconic water scene, that scene was so funny with her sitting on top of the police car. That iconic scene with her in the fur and the hair, in the car. Those are all the scenes that we were a part of. Then Marnie did all the dancers and the scenes where Beyonce was dancing with her dancers. So they're all denim look. And I can't remember which other scenes she did. But we all just kind of played a role in making sure that because this was such a huge comeback for Beyonce, we all had to take different roles in what we were doing.
Having already achieved so much career-wise, Ade could be forgiven for wanting to take a break. But Ade assures us she is simply getting started.
My goals is to continue to grow, it's continue to bring Nigeria and the African market to the forefront. I'm really someone who admire my home. I haven't been home in a very long time, and I've been blessed to been in spaces where now I know what's going on. Now I know the inside of how to maneuver and how to really, really push push the brand and elevate it internationally. So for me, 2018 is really just seeing more of me, Ade Samuel, hearing more of Nigeria, seeing more of the different designers and the different entertainers, and allowing, my network of, African entrepreneurs to kind of work together to bring our culture kind of into America. Honestly, that's my biggest goal. Is 2018 is to push Nigeria into the American spotlight and really allow them to give us acknowledgement for what they're inspired by in our culture.
Survive, keep on surviving.
Hi, my name is Ade Samuel, and you're watching Pulse TV.